Ask me if I believe in magic.
Do you believe in magic?
It's just not practical.
Oh, God. You're a nightmare. Why I hitched my horse to your wagon, I'll never know.
That's what I've been trying to tell you. I keep doing this.
I know,
that's
me too.
A good look.
I get really, my shoulders get really high, and I like, but it's not comfortable for me to sit with like Victorian posture for up to an hour. That looks so natural.
Hello, everybody. I am Will.
And I'm Kristin.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is a spoiler show, so you have been warned. On today's episode, we are going to hopefully have a conversation about the 1998 fantasy, drama, comedy, romance film, Practical Magic. It is all of them.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, sorry. I realized in one of the other ones, my computer monitor was turned, the brightness was all the way up, so I had this blue glow.
Like an extra.
Yeah. So, Practical Magic, starring Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. I recommended we do this movie, and then I fought you every step of the way.
You did. Up to and including insisting that we watch Trick or Treat last night, which I did enjoy. But
usually when I force you to watch a movie, you end up liking it. Because I can tell when you would like things. You, on the other hand, just lob things at me and hope something sticks.
Look. I have a wide variety of tastes, and they don't all mesh with yours.
Well, there was something I knew nothing about the movie. I knew that it was Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, and I thought the entirety of the movie took place with the two of them dancing around a kitchen table. Like, that was the extent of my knowledge of the movie.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but also Diane Weiss and Stockard Channing are in that scene.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, and I thought it was going to be one of those, 90s chick flicks that any girl who's even come within the vicinity of the 90s is obligated to love it. But
I mean, it's not those things.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the sum of its parts.
I just it seemed like it was just going to be Dirty Dancing or
I mean, you should watch Dirty Dancing just to see it. But I mean, I also should watch Citizen Kane, and I have no interest. So,
well, regardless, so I just wasn't in the mood, and you were very bummed. And I
love this movie.
I know specifically Amira wanted. That was the first thing she said. She was like, "Are you going to do practical magic?"
We've had a couple asks on Twitter too. So
really?
I think we're going to have to just release this whenever.
That's fine. It's not. We don't think the October's not over, but we don't think it's making it during our Witchtober.
No, probably not.
Whenever you're,
despite it being vastly more witchy than Trick or Treat.
Yeah. Although you were very adamant that Halloween played a pivotal role in this movie. And was there even a single scene depicting Halloween?
Okay, you're right. But the implication at the end is that they're doing that at Halloween.
Sure. Okay, there was a single scene depicting Halloween.
That was my mistake. It's been a minute since I watched this movie.
So anyways, I was like, we'll watch it. I did want to see it. I apparently am a Nicole Kidman stan. I don't know where that came from. It's
Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, well, okay, I know exactly where that came from, but I don't know why it took me this long to understand that I love Nicole Kidman.
Oh yeah, no, she's great. From forever.
Well, I started to say something when we were watching this where I started to be like, she's underrated. And I was like, I think she's properly rated. She has an Oscar and an Emmy.
Yeah. She might have a Golden Globe too.
For Big Little Lies. Yeah. And frankly, I like Sandra Bullock a lot. I'm not I don't run full speed to her when the way some people do, but
I do. She is very comforting to me. Just the presence of Sandra Bullock. And I also love, because there's so many people where it's at the beginning of their careers, or they did one or two and then got into more Oscar-y stuff, but I love that she has 15 solid rom-coms. And it's one for every mood too. It's one of my favorite things about her is that she was oh, this is what I am good at and this is what I'm getting paid for, and that's fine.
Well, we had a full-fledged conversation. We paused the movie to talk about it because it was the scene towards the end where they were preparing for the exorcism.
Yeah.
And she like lights a candle and she like blows on it and then turns and looks at her daughter and smiles. And it caught me off guard. I was like, God, wow, she's beautiful. And you were like, duh. And I was like, I knew she was attractive.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, you don't get to be in movies if you're not. But in the 90s, I mean.
She just, you don't get to be like the lead in a movie like this.
Well, she just like. I was like, she's usually more of a tomboy or like a girl next door or an every woman type thing. I was like, you're very rarely.
The like glam factor is something that she often sort of tumbles into, sort of like in Miss Congeniality, which is. Well,
she's like the practical sister and she's the practical in the.
Oh my God.
And Nicole Kidman is like the firecracker. Yeah. Not a role she frequently play. I mean, I guess sometimes, but.
Yeah. I like it as a departure for her, kind of, because there's not a lot. I also, were you done? Because I was like going to get into like plot stuff, but you were still talking about how pretty.
Well, no, just that it took me aback. And so we had a full conversation about it. And you were like, or Will actually was like, movies don't frequently focus on it.
On her beauty.
Thing. Yeah. But
she has like a way more down to earth good looks, but her face is so symmetrical and her eyebrows are so amazing.
When it was her neck and like the smirk, like the way she did it. But I was gonna ask you if you were gonna ask me if I liked this.
Oh, well, you've already said more than I thought you would, so
really?
I feel like you liked it enough.
Oh, okay.
Am I wrong? Did you hate it? Did you like it? Now I'm so nervous.
This movie's fantastic.
Yes!
It's so fucking good.
Yes! Another win for Kristin.
It's so good.
Yes!
When we were sitting down, I didn't do it on purpose. Like, because I've actually, for some movies, I obviously want to get a sense of what they are. But a lot of the movies we watched for Halloween, I just knew of them. So I purposefully just like put it on. And like, I didn't know when, for instance, Trick or Treat, I didn't even know that was an anthology when I put it on.
Okay.
And so I was trying to, I apparently can't spell practical.
Oh. How did you spell it?
Well, I only had one C, and I think it was after the T. I think I was spelling
practical.
Practical?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
it wasn't even after the C or after the T where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a struggle.
Pratseal.
But within that, I accidentally clicked on the Rotten Tomatoes and saw that it has a 22%.
I disagree.
That is wrong.
Vehemently
wrong.
Disagree. Yeah.
I literally went and read some of them, and I cannot come up with anything other than women are silly, and therefore, like, it feels like sexism. It feels like good old fashioned. Like, I think this movie now would easily get a solid 50.
Yeah.
Like, possibly even 60. I don't. The main thing, every single review was hung up on the tonal shifts. And the thing is because we frequently comment when things have jarring tonal shifts. And it was literally not until the like end of Act 2 where there is one, in my opinion, one. But
it also, for me,
it was the only one that was jarring.
But I agree. But I also feel like it has to, in order to pivot into the climax of them, you have to know that something is amiss, basically. And so it takes kind of a dark turn. I will also say, I was reading the trivia, and apparently the director's cut was much darker. Like throughout.
Interesting.
And there was an original score that sounded too European and obtrusive.
That's probably
so
accurate.
They changed it like at the last minute. And I was like, okay, if this whole movie was dark and then it was like whatever, but I like this movie so much more as like a kind of silly thing that has like maybe one tonal shift into like actual scariness for 5 minutes.
Well, it's the whole movie is magic, but it's very light magic. And then, you know, that point, and if you're new to our show, this is typical us, but that point is like we go hard into poltergeist territory, and it was
we really do.
It was pretty grounded before that, but
it's like immediately like a body haunting. Yeah.
Well, he's floating through the air with smoke everywhere, and it was like, oh, okay. That's the only time I was jarred, and there were tonal shifts, but I didn't find them jarring
because That's the thing for me is like, I feel like, yes, there's tonal shifts, but do you know what else has tonal shifts?
Life.
Like, well, life for sure, but like a great American favorite movie, Forrest Gump. It's like very funny 1 minute, and then the next minute, Lieutenant Dan's legs are blown to smithereens. And it's sort of like, yeah, shit happens. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, because actually for this, it was easily 3 or 4 times a scene was happening and I was like, I don't understand what I'm watching. And then I caught on that I was like, oh, I will soon enough.
Yeah.
And so there were a handful, like when they were drinking tequila, I was like, why is this suddenly weird?
Yeah.
I was like, this got dark somewhere and I don't understand where. And then we find out almost immediately after that. So it was like, that to me, an intentional change in the story that's like motivated by like,
well, it's like
information we don't have.
Right.
Like
exactly. And that's the thing where I have a little bit of like nostalgia glasses on for this movie because I've been watching it like since it came out and I've always loved it and I've never had an issue. And I saw it for the first time before I had like taste in movies and stuff. And I just was like going with my mom to go see the movie she wanted to see. And so it's hard for me to be super objective about it, but I also, looking at it through the lens of, you know, me as an almost 35-year-old person, I still think it holds up as a movie and as a narrative.
Well, and I think it's the kind of thing that might be better now than it was when it came out. And I don't know if we've talked a lot about this recently, but the genre of fantasy has had a bit of a resurgence in the past few years.
Yeah.
And I think it was aided largely by the comeback of both the musical and the superhero movie.
Sure. Well, and I mean, boo hiss Game of Thrones. But.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I think something like this that is pretty high on the fantasy ladder.
It feels grounded. Like it feels like a grounded real thing, but it also, because like you said, there is a poltergeist and it's like, well, they're able to like commune with each other kind of.
Yeah,
like,
there's magic
distances.
just willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And but I also stand by, there was something very female and very there was something very female and very like generational. Like I could see watching this if I were like a young girl. Because that's another theme with a lot of these movies we've been watching, especially the Halloween scary ones, is a lot of them I actually think are best for younger people. And by that, I don't necessarily mean children.
Not kids, but like teens.
Yeah. Like there are movies that when you're a teen, you're like, I shouldn't be watching this. And then you revisit it as an adult and you're like, no, that was
the right
when I should have been watching it.
Well, they're also, you're right, because witches in general are obviously a very female thing, but that's been kind of a theme, for our whole podcast for the last 3 years, but for this month specifically, because all the witches, and it's a lot of times about like coming into your power and like coming into your womanhood and stuff, and I think that applies to this movie as well.
Well, because that's what I started to say is it's like I could see myself being like a 12 or 13-year-old girl watching this with like my mom and my aunt or my grandma or whatever. It feels very, and that's a major theme of the movie, you know, and it feels very passed down generationally.
I remember my thing about Nicole Kidman, because I was saying at the beginning that I like that she's sort of like a firecracker vixen type of character in this, because my favorite thing about her performance in this movie is how over the top and wrong she acts when Aidan Quinn shows up. She's just like, she turns her like seduction and she's so bad at lying and she turns it all up to 11 and she's so awkward in every interaction she has with him.
Nicole Kidman.
And I love it.
Because Sandra Bullock is doing it too.
But she's really good at the like, whoa, you know, kind of thing. The thing about Nicole Kidman is she's always playing these really poised characters. And even Gillian is very confident and very like, I can handle this situation. But it's like the minute that a law enforcement agent is there, she's like, let me touch your badge. And she's all very like, you know, and a very over the top, like, well, when a man hits me, he only does it once. And it's just like, you are so hard in the paint right now. I don't know what you're doing. You're trying so hard.
Of all the movies we've covered in October, I think this one has probably captured like true witchcraft.
Okay.
the best.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
It still goes hard fantasy, but I think the moral and the tone and like I think that if you were a practicing witch, this movie wouldn't be offensive the way that some of the others were.
Sure.
Because she even said something about like the devil has no place in the craft is one of the lines in the movie.
Yeah.
It really sort of captured the femaleness of all of it. And I mentioned if it came out now, I think it might have a better reception. And I don't know that I agree with that because it really is in this is very personal to me, but 1998 is like the furthest back I can go and still feel recent.
Sure.
It probably is from going from elementary school to middle school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know though. I used to call my mom on the payphone in 1998. So that's a thing.
I just like turned 13. And so it's like I think mentally I put kind of a break there. And so I think the 90s-ness of this helps. It's very, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
Okay.
Like it helps me process it.
Sure.
Because a lot of the older movies that we talked about, frankly, in the Trick or Treat episode about how sophisticated, or the witches too, like how sophisticated modern audiences are. And that's kind of astonishing when you think about it. When you go back and watch some of these 90s or 80s movies and they're so cliche and they're so spoon feeding.
Yeah, because I don't find this one very cliche. No. I mean a little, but I wasn't like that old trope again, you know.
I was in from the get-go, like the beginning. Yay. Well, that woman, the Maria, the first, she was so beautiful. Yeah. And
her name is something crazy.
Yeah, it
too.
Was
Caprice Benedetti. Yeah.
It was just so whimsical and the narration, because you're getting narration from Stockard Channing, Diane Wiest, and Nicole Kidman, and it's just so good. There was just like a cozy quality to it. Like it really,
it kind of is like what Linda Holmes said. It's sort of because it sort of is. It's not a mystery, but it's like a cozy murder movie.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, because it goes through a lot of things, and I mean the townspeople hating them because they're witches was kind of silly because I'm like, okay. Although Evan Rachel Wood as Kylie was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Giving the kid chicken pox.
Yeah,
she cast that spell.
I love it.
And so of course he's going to get it, but the fact that the movie
then we then follow up later and the kid is covered in chicken pox. It's hilarious.
But even that, it's like it was so good at the end when all of the women come to help them.
So, okay, that is my favorite part of this movie. Other than just the very small moment of Stockard Channing and Diane Wiest just drunkenly singing "With Someone Left It on the Porch," I've always loved that. But my very favorite moment is when all of these women do show up, and that is the act that breaks Maria's curse, because the reason that this like prayer or this spell turned into a curse is because all the women of the town were the ones that like sent her to hang. And so it's like all the women of the town banding around these witches.
This is so good.
Such a good movie.
It's so good. I don't understand what, like, I'm going to buy this. I don't understand what people are.
Feel so indicated.
The set, it was so good.
They built it, that house.
Yeah. I mean, the more that I think about it, it's like, I was a little confused when we were going to pick up Nicole Kidman from Goran Visjnic. But it's the kind of thing that I was watching those scenes and I was like, well, he seems like no good. And then we see another scene. I'm like, he really seems like no good, but the movie isn't really treating this like it. And then she calls crying. I'm like, he's no good.
Yeah, no, he's no good. This is like the thing I've seen him in where he's the smarmiest, for sure.
I think they could have just left him at that power plant and fucked off. I think they would have been fine.
He had the keys.
Where?
While he was peeing, he had the keys.
Yeah, dead.
Oh, leave him there dead.
Yeah.
Well, then they only have his car. So they still are like...
Park it somewhere and then get a bus.
Well, I mean...
I poked a hole in your movie.
I mean...
Although I did like they lampshaded that though, because Sandra Bullock was like it's self-defense and Nicole Kidman is like systemically drugging.
Well, like slow poisoning, because she admitted in a prior scene that she just gives him belladonna sometimes so that he'll leave her alone, because apparently he just is constantly having sex with her.
Well, I was also kind of waiting for him because she was talking about how he was from like Bulgaria And she was
near Transylvania.
Yeah, and she calls him Dracula at one point, and so I was waiting for him to be
like a Dracula cowboy.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to be magic too, and I mean, kind of, but not that way.
Yeah.
The bringing him back from the dead was the dumbest thing they could have done.
Of
that
course.
was, I mean, as it was happening, I was like, bleh. And
he did. I mean, obviously, he immediately tried to choke her again.
Stockard Channing and Diane Wiest, you're right, are so good. But I do think it was rich of them to fuck all the way off and be like, this is their problem to solve. And it's like, I mean, I appreciate the sentiment, but...
Well, I think they didn't know what was going on. And so they just were like, well, if you got into some trouble, you can get yourself out. You know, this is like an issue of your own making because you wouldn't, you know, participate with us and all of this stuff. And you like poo-pooed it and like sent it on its way. And then once they realized the depth of the actual problem, they do come back, but
well, even the girls, because I mean, I think that this is accessible to younger people. Like, I don't know, I am full blown. I really liked it. I don't know what to say. Aidan Quinn was fine and all, but I kind of feel like he was no Mark Feuerstein.
Oh, that's a tough pill to swallow.
That was nice, yeah. And
there are lots of hot guys in this movie, though.
Yeah, but I just was like, I don't know. I would be so in if I was like a New England village person. I would be so into the witch. And although I did write down a note where I was like, maybe these people don't like them because they like...
Because they're all so beautiful. And
they traipse through town spilling secrets.
Yeah.
Where she's like, well, he's banging the babysitter. And what did she say about...
She can eat a pound cake in under a minute.
I was like, okay, Diane Wiest. Let her live.
I love Diane Wiest. I love her little voice.
I've really only seen her in one thing.
We should watch some more Diane Wiest. Well, Bullets Over Broadway.
Okay. Yeah. But I told you, I was like, she's in that miniseries, The 10th Kingdom. Oh. She's the evil queen.
Oh. Okay.
I tried to make you watch it and you weren't having it.
No, I know. I feel like it was kind of dumb, but...
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay.
Very.
All right.
So... I mean, did you have anything else that I know you love Margot Martindale?
So this is obviously not the movie that is like a showcase of her skills. However, she is another one where like every time I see her in something, I just feel better. I just love her so much. And I know I've said it before, but if anybody really wants to see her shine in something, you need to watch the Alexander Payne segment of Paris Je t'aime, because it is amazing and she's the only person in it. It's so good. My favorite thing she's ever done. I don't know. I don't have like a ton more to say about the movie. I'm so glad you liked it because I was worried even while we were watching it because you were like jittering your leg and stuff.
I'm doing it right now.
Well, yeah. But you kept looking at your phone and I couldn't tell if you're taking notes or like distracting yourself. And I was like, fuck. But I'm so glad. I feel so vindicated.
The music just slaps from start to end.
Well, I like this.
Kiss.
Well, that one's good. And then there was like more than one Stevie Nicks in here. But I actually really like the score too. It's like really like gentle strings a lot of the time and like a crescendo.
Everything was so pretty when they were preparing for breakfast with the waffles and they were like going out pancakes. They were like going out. So I don't know. I was all about this. Apparently they tried to make a TV series and it didn't get picked up.
Oh, that's dumb.
But it was Kim Delaney and Jerry Ryan were Sally and Gillian. And then Kat Dennings and Gage Golightly were the girls.
Oh. I'm like, when was that?
2004.
Would have been so good.
It would have gone well with Desperate Housewives.
It would have gone well with Desperate Housewives. Oh my God. Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm so glad you liked it.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it again.
Yes.
I texted Amira. I texted Jen. I was like...
That's what you're doing on your phone.
I texted Jen. I was like, have you seen Practical Magic? And Jen was like, yeah. I was like, it's great. And she was like, have you never seen it before? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh my God, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And
I love that Jen loves it. Because she's like kind of hard to please sometimes.
You just... No, she likes... It's the kind, I mean, there's not a makeover, but she likes that kind of chick flicky thing.
Okay.
And my mom, like I texted her and she was like, oh my God, I loved it. So.
Yay.
I was in.
Enchanted.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm so excited. Yeah, you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching or Instagram @SoI'mWatchingThisShow. You can also follow along on our website, soI'mWatching.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can subscribe to us because we like it. And you can leave a comment and you can rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And that's it for us.
Mm-hmm.